if you are in favor of charter schools, we can't be just advocating charter schools. Will you start to consider regulation as part of your advocacy of charter schools?
Just really quickly, as I mentioned earlier, as a public school teacher, I don't want my jobs to be taken away. I don't want my colleagues to be displaced or my students to be stolen. And so I just said it earlier, they need to be regulated, and I'm not for profit, because if we're going to be providing funding to these schools, we need to hold them to the same standards. We need to ensure that access to those schools are available for every child, not by choice. So not only the elite students get to go to those schools. As long as these schools are open to everyone and they provide the same quality service and the teachers are held to the same standards. I know that for a lot of private schools, they don't require a credential teacher to be in the classroom. So how is that fair with, and now I'm going into the union perspective, as a CTA member, we keep going to school over and over again. We have to revamp our credentials. We have to keep going every 5 years. And so how is it that these private schools get to have, funding when they're not required to actually go through the same hoops that we do? So I think in order to provide quality education, we have to mandate that they also go through their credentialing program, understand the curriculum, and understand that those schools are for everyone. So to answer your question more specifically, absolutely, they must be regulated, and if they're going to get funding, they better comply. Thank you.
I apologize. I was supposed to leave at 11:30, but I'll stay and answer this question. I've already regulated. I've already authored legislation to hold the charter schools accountable to the same standards as public schools. One example of that is that, how many of you ever heard of the federal free lunch program?
Yeah.
Okay. And the free lunch program is funded by the federal government, 100% of it. Doesn't require a penny from the district. And so I did a bill that simply said that charter schools and public schools should do the free lunch program, free breakfast, free lunch program, completely funded. And the charter schools opposed the bill, which I understand that they could, that was their right. But I wanted to hold them accountable because I did put students first. And if my children were on this side going to a charter school and my children were going this side in a public school, only one side of you gets a meal. Because the charter schools felt that it would be too much of a burden to install, and the only thing they had to have was hot and cold running water in that school. Now, having said that, let me tell you that working with the charter schools, I had an incredible amount of respect for them. And I think we left understanding that they had a principled opposition to my bill, and I had a principled opposition and obligation to put that bill forward. So I think what I'd like to do is simply say again, I look at the kids first, I look at the legislation, and I can also tell you that I have also been opposed by the public school lobby too on a number of my bills. So I don't, as I said, I don't wake up at the beginning of the day and say, oh, this is this, and it's going to just sail through. We all know that no matter what you think, it's like that horse. No matter what you think you're going to do as the driver, the rider, that horse, which is the political process, is going to have a completely different mind of its own. And I think that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for legislators that start off with a certain assumption, but is willing to have a conversation and at the end of the day, do what will work. And I want to tell you that I'm not going to be able to vote 100% with everybody in this room, okay? If I did, then I shouldn't be here, all right? But I think what I will promise you is that I stand, as I started off and I have to leave, on basic fundamental principles. And as an at-risk child, education and what's best for the child will always be there. But having said that, I will have a respectful two-way dialogue. I don't start, if someone says there's an appointment with so-and-so, I don't start off with the conversation saying, oh, I hate that person. Let's not do the appointment. I would rather meet with someone that hates me and at the end of the day, shake hands, because that's what we need. We need more coalition building. Instead of hate, let's make a date and let's have that date to talk. And let's see if we can come together at the end of the day doing what's best for our kids, our parents, our grandparents. And I am one of you. I am a so-called senior citizen. So I would never do anything that would be against my interest too. So thank you very much. I apologize. I have to go to another event right now. I'm either leaving to go to an event or I'm using to go to the bathroom, so I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do both this time at my age. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the great work you do.
Okay, so for the sake of time, for the sake of time, I'll just answer the question with a simple yes. As I mentioned earlier, I do believe that charter schools should be held accountable to the same standards as our public school system. And it's really about the students, and I want to make sure that our students succeed.